My name is Alex Rivera, and 2 months ago, my whole life got packed into a U-Haul trailer and hauled 500 miles north from the familiar strip mall suburbs of Ohio to the deep woods of northern Michigan. Dad kept saying the paper mill job was a step up. Mom talked about fresh air and starry skies like we were moving to some wholesome postcard. I just miss my friends. My old room with the posters that didn't smell like pine sap and sidewalks that actually led somewhere. Our new house was the last one on Black Tree Road. It was an old 2-story farmhouse with creaky hardwood floors, a wraparound porch that sagged on one side, and windows that rattled whenever the wind picked up, which was consistently. At night, the trees pressed close, their branches scraping the roof like impatient fingers. No neighbors for half a mile in any direction. Just us, the woods, and whatever lived inside them. The first night I lay in bed listening to the silence. Back home there was always traffic hum, distant sirens, someone's bass thumping. But here, there was nothing. Until around 1 a.m., when a long, mournful howl rose from the trees. Low at first, then rising into something that made my scalp tighten. I told myself it was just the coyotes. Everyone said Michigan had plenty, but it didn't sound like any coyote video that I've ever heard. Anyways, Westfield High was smaller than my old school. Red brick, 1 story, surrounded by a football field that backed right up to more woods. Everybody seemed to know everybody. It was a small town after all. Lockers had decades of carved initials. The cafeteria smelled like tater tots and damp flannel. On my 3rd day, during lunch, the questions finally came. I was sitting with Trey, Jace, and a couple of their friends, guys from my English class that played on the varsity basketball team. Trey had that easy popular kid energy, floppy brown hair and a Letterman jacket even though it was only September. "So new guy," Trey said around a mouthful of pizza. "Where'd they stick you?" "Last house before the big trees over there." "It's right before the trees take over. It's quiet. It's kind of peaceful, I guess. Big yard, but the woods are right there. You can hear owls hooting all night and coyotes. I don't know." The table went dead quiet. Forks furrowed midair. Maya, a girl with curly hair who smiled at me during orientation, suddenly became very interested in her phone screen. Jason's eyes flickered towards the windows, like he expected something to be staring back. "Black Tree," Trey repeated, his voice a little too casual. That's way out there, past the old fire roads." Yeah, I said, frowning. Why? Is something wrong with it?" Nobody answered directly. Someone mumbled about the homecoming game. Maya excused herself to the bathroom and didn't come back. Just like that, the easy vibe evaporated. I shrugged my shoulders and I finished my lunch alone, feeling eyes on the back of my neck the whole time. It kept happening. In biology, my lab partner, a quiet kid named Liam, he asked the same question while we were dissecting the frog. When I described the house again, he paled, muttered something about needing the bathroom, and never returned to class. I was confused, but I let it slide. In the hallways between classes, clusters of students would go silent as I passed, then explode into whispers. I caught a fragment of a conversation after I passed a group of kids. One of them muttered, "He's right by the Hermit's territory." Another time I caught someone saying, "Howler," as I walked past after retrieving my books from my locker. By the end of the first week, I was eating lunch in the bathroom stall some days, just so I can avoid the stairs. The woods outside my bedroom window started to feel less like scenery and more like an audience. I was killing time on the metal bleachers after school, waiting for Mom to finish her shift at the clinic and pick me up. A guy I'd only seen in passing dropped into the bleachers a few feet away. Ethan Hale, I think his last name was Hale, tall, lanky, messy dark hair that constantly fell over one eye, a faded black hoodie that smelled faintly of wood smoke and pine needles whenever he walked by the halls. He mostly kept to himself, sitting in the back of classes, never raising his hand, but somehow knowing every answer when called on. Teachers typically left him alone. Kids did too. "You're the Black Hill Kid, right?" he asked quietly, not quite looking at me. His voice had this low, calm quality that cut through the wind. "Yeah, Alex, why does everyone act like I said I live in a haunted asylum when I mention it?" Ethan finally turned his head. His eyes caught the fading light, amber brown, almost golden eyes. Because of the Hermit, he lives maybe a mile deeper in, off the old logging trails. Nobody's seen him clearly in years, just shapes. He's a tall guy moving between the trunks at twilight, howling when the moon's full. They say he wasn't always like that. Normal dude back in the 90s. Went out one winter night for firewood during a bad storm. Came back different, so they say. Clothes shredded, eyes glowing, acting feral. Now he keeps to the deep woods, but every couple years someone vanishes. Hikers, kids sneaking out to party. It always happens near Black Tree. I laughed, but it sounded forced even to me. Werewolf? Seriously? This is high school, man, not a campfire story. But Ethan didn't smile. His stories stick around for a reason out here. My grandpa hunted those woods for 40 years. Told me the Hermit's tracks aren't fully human. Too long, too wide. And sometimes there are two sets. One coming and one going. Like whatever it is changing shape. He paused, studying me. New kid moves in, rides the owl and picks up again. Saying maybe the Hermit finally has company. Or maybe you're the new one changing. My skin prickled. Bro, that's ridiculous. I've been here 2 months. I go to school, I do homework, I play video games. I'm not turning into anything. Come on now. The full moon's in 3 nights, Ethan said softly, standing up. His shadow stretched long across the bleachers. Lock your doors, stay inside after dark, and if you hear any scratching at the windows, don't look and don't answer. He walked off towards the parking lot with that smooth, lanky stride, hands deep in his hoodie pockets. I watched him until he disappeared between the cars, the wind carrying away the faint scent of pine. That night, the night felt smaller, the walls thinner. I kept my bedroom light on later than usual, staring out the tree line. Around 2 a.m, the howl came again, closer, raw, vibrating through the glass like a bass string. I pulled the covers over my head and tried not to think about amber eyes and tried to focus on cute girls from school. Friday was brutal. More whispers. Someone drew a crude wolf with sharp teeth on my locker door. In the cafeteria, Trey's group physically moved tables when I sat down nearby. Maya wouldn't meet my eyes anymore. I felt radioactive. After last period, I looked for Ethan, wanting to ask him more, but he wasn't in any of his usual spots. He was the only person that I felt that I could speak to. But anyways, the weekend dragged. Mom and Dad were busy unpacking and fixing up the place. I helped stack firewood on the porch. Ironic, given the stories. Saturday night, the moon was waxing, bright and heavy. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the old house made my heart jump. Around midnight, I heard gravel crunching outside my window. Slow footsteps. Then, a low growl that didn't sound like any animal I knew. I grabbed the baseball bat quickly. I'd stashed under my bed and crept to the window. Heart hammering against my ribs. I eased the curtain aside just an inch. Ethan stood at the edge of the yard where the grass gave way to pine needles. Moonlight poured over him. No hoodie this time, just a worn black t-shirt and jeans. As I watched paralyzed, his shoulders hunched unnaturally. I heard it then. the wet, sickening pops of bones shifting under skin. His jaw lengthened with a crack, his hands curled into claws that dug into the earth. He rose for a moment on two legs, towering, monstrous, half man, half beast, then dropped on all fours. The thing that had been even lifted its massive head and looked directly at my window. Our eyes locked. Recognition, hunger, a slow, grotesque smile stretched across his muzzle, revealing rows of teeth. The truth crashed over me like freezing water. There was no separate Hermit, even was the Hermit. He'd been living out here for years, maybe decades, in whatever twisted time a creature like him kept. He'd watched me move in, sat next to me on the bleachers, feeding me enough fear to isolate me from anyone else. He turned the whole school against the new kids so that when I disappeared, no one would look too hard. Or maybe he wanted me to join him. I stumbled backwards as the creature accelerated across the yard on all fours, claws tearing up gravel. A thunderous roar shook the house. Wood splintered somewhere downstairs as something massive slammed into the side door. I screamed for my parents, bat raised, running down the hallway while behind me glass shattered and the night poured in. They say the full moon reveals monsters. Well, mine showed me the real one that had been sitting in class with me all along, wearing a human smile with amber eyes, waiting for the right moment to shed its mask. And now, it was inside. I see now. We're not monsters. You humans are. Now this town has two monsters.